Something shifted inside the royal circle this week, and the consequences are still unfolding. Prince William, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle sit at the center of a quiet struggle over influence, legacy, and public trust, where small decisions may soon trigger irreversible change, worldwide impact. Doors closed, advisors startled, and a long-managed balance inside the monarchy suddenly felt unstable. Recent internal movements have placed Prince William in a more assertive position, while Prince Harry and Meghan Markle continue to influence public perception from outside the traditional royal structure. The stakes extend beyond family tension. They reach into authority, public funding, media power, and the future image of the crown. Behind palace walls, sources suggest a growing divide over how the monarchy should respond to shifting public expectations. Some senior figures reportedly favor strict message control, carefully curated appearances, and limited transparency. Others, align more closely with William's approach, appear to be advocating for a calmer, more direct connection with the public, prioritizing credibility over rigid tradition. Prince William's recent decisions have drawn quiet attention. Reports claim he had been stepping into discussions that were once dominated by older advisors, signaling a subtle rebalancing of influence. His focus, according to insiders, centers on long-term legitimacy, generational relevance, and the responsibility of safeguarding the monarchy for the decades ahead. The emphasis is less on spectacle and more on steady, disciplined leadership. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle remain a parallel force in this evolving dynamic. From across the Atlantic, their projects, interviews, and public initiatives continue to shape narratives around power, privilege, and accountability. It's been said that their media presence creates both pressure and opportunity for the royal institution, forcing conversations that might otherwise stay private. While their intentions are often debated, their impact on global public opinion is difficult to ignore. At the heart of the tension lies a broader question: who controls the story of the monarchy moving forward? Financial transparency, ceremonial relevance, and charitable influence are all part of the discussion. Sources suggest internal concerns about donor relationships, brand partnerships, and the cost of maintaining royal operations during a time of economic strain. Decisions made now could affect funding models, public goodwill, and political relationships for years. There are also rumors, unverified but persistent, that certain strategic meetings have taken place without the full participation of key family members. Some observers interpret this as a sign of fragmentation, while others view it as a temporary recalibration. What remains clear is that silence, once a reliable shield, is no longer enough to manage modern scrutiny. Public sentiment adds another layer of complexity. Viewers and readers increasingly respond to authenticity over ceremony, expecting accountability alongside tradition, and to navigate controversy without escalating conflict. According to several commentators, the monarchy's survival depends less on formality and more on its ability to evolve without losing its core identity. Within this environment, Prince William's role appears to be expanding, not through dramatic announcements, but through measured influence. Meanwhile, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle continue to command attention, shaping conversations about reform, independence, and moral authority. Each move, statement, or absence now carries symbolic weight, signaling potential change beneath the surface. For now, official responses remain carefully worded, and many details stay behind closed doors. Yet the direction seems to be forming quietly, step by step, with consequences that may soon become impossible to contain. Something quiet but serious is unfolding behind palace walls, and it centers on money, influence, and control, not in a dramatic, public way, but through careful meetings, private reviews, and decisions that could shape the monarchy's future financial stability. Reports claim Prince William has been taking a closer interest in how royal funds are allocated, particularly in areas tied to public image, charitable work, and long-term sustainability. Sources suggest he is less focused on tradition for tradition's sake, and more concerned with protecting the institution from financial criticism that could weaken public trust over time. There is growing awareness that the cost of maintaining royal operations is being examined more critically than before. In an era of rising living expenses and economic uncertainty, even symbolic spending can trigger backlash. Some insiders say internal discussions now include how to justify budgets in a way that feels responsible, transparent, and respectful of public sentiment. At the same time, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle continue to influence global conversations about money and power from outside the institution. Their past statements regarding funding, independence, and financial fairness still resonate in media coverage and public debate. Whether welcomed or not, their perspective keeps pressure on the monarchy to defend how resources are managed. Unverified reports suggest certain donors and private partners are becoming more cautious. They reportedly want reassurance that their support aligns with modern values, ethical standards, and public accountability. The monarchy's financial ecosystem is no longer isolated. It intersects with corporate interests, public opinion, and international perception in ways that require delicate handling. Within palace circles, opinions appear divided. Some advisors argue that revealing too much financial detail could invite political scrutiny or fuel negative narratives. Others believe that carefully structured openness might actually protect the institution from deeper criticism later on. The debate is quiet, but its implications are far-reaching. What makes this moment particularly sensitive is timing. Economic strain, social change, and heightened media attention have created an environment where financial decisions carry emotional weight. A choice meant to appear practical could be interpreted as excess. A move intended to preserve dignity could be seen as secrecy. Prince William's involvement in these conversations is reportedly reshaping how priorities are set. His approach, according to sources, leans toward long-term credibility over short-term comfort. The intention is not to reduce the monarchy's influence, but to strengthen its foundation before external pressure forces more drastic change. For now, official messaging remains measured and restrained. Details stay carefully contained. But behind the composed public image, financial strategy is becoming a central battleground, one that may soon reveal deeper tensions beneath the surface. A different kind of pressure is now building, quieter than financial strain, but far more personal: reputation. Not just how the monarchy looks, but how it feels to the public, especially those who have followed it for decades. Behind the scenes, sources suggest growing concern over how recent narratives have shaped public trust. Small moments, brief absences, and subtle changes in tone are being interpreted as signs of deeper internal tension. What once could be managed through silence and formality now demands careful, emotionally aware communication. Prince William is reportedly paying close attention to how the royal family is perceived by older audiences, particularly women who have long supported the institution. Observers say he understands that loyalty is built not only on tradition, but on dignity, consistency, and a sense of moral steadiness. His public presence appears increasingly measured, aiming to reassure rather than impress. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle remain part of the reputational equation, whether directly or indirectly. Their continued media visibility, humanitarian projects, and public reflections keep certain questions alive about fairness, modern values, and personal agency. Reports claim their influence shapes how some viewers reassess the monarchy's sincerity and emotional honesty. Inside palace discussions, there are whispers of unease over how quickly opinion can shift in the modern media environment. A single headline, a misunderstood remark, or an ill-timed appearance can ripple across television, print, and online communities. For an older audience that values stability, even subtle disruptions can feel unsettling. Some advisors reportedly believe the solution lies in a calmer, more grounded tone. Fewer grand statements, more quiet consistency, and a renewed focus on service over spectacle. Others worry that being too reserved may appear evasive at a time when the public expects openness. The balance between discretion and connection remains difficult to maintain. There are also unverified claims that internal efforts are underway to refine how personal stories, health updates, and family milestones are communicated. The goal, according to sources, is to avoid emotional distance while preserving privacy. It is a delicate line, especially when public affection is deeply tied to familiarity and trust. What complicates matters is memory. Longtime observers remember earlier eras, different leadership styles, and moments when the monarchy felt more united and predictable. Any sense of fragmentation, even if exaggerated, risks unsettling those who value continuity above all else. For now, the institution continues to project composure, but behind that composed exterior, reputational strategy is being reconsidered with new urgency, as the royal image moves closer to a point where perception itself may begin to influence power. A deeper shift is quietly unfolding now, not just in image or money, but in how power itself is organized inside the monarchy. The structure that has guided royal decision-making for generations is reportedly under careful review, and the implications could be lasting. Sources suggest Prince William is becoming more involved in shaping how key decisions are made, particularly those tied to public direction, charitable priorities, and long-term planning. This does not appear to be a dramatic takeover, but rather a gradual recalibration of influence, carried out through private discussions and measured steps. There is growing awareness within palace circles that overlapping authority can create confusion, mixed messaging, and internal strain. Some advisors are said to support a clearer chain of responsibility, one that reduces internal friction and presents a more unified public voice. Others remain cautious, worried that altering established processes could unsettle traditional balances that have held for decades. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's distance from the institution has indirectly shaped these conversations. Their departure demonstrated that influence no longer depends solely on proximity to the crown. Their continued relevance outside royal structures has reportedly prompted reflection on how authority, loyalty, and representation are defined in a modern context. Unverified reports claim certain advisory roles are being reassessed, with an eye toward modernization, communication expertise, and generational perspective. Some insiders interpret this as preparation for a future in which leadership style matters as much as lineage. The emphasis, they say, is on coherence, credibility, and adaptability rather than rigid hierarchy. Institutional change is rarely visible to the public, but it shapes everything from event planning to international relationships. When internal alignment weakens, even small missteps can appear symbolic of deeper instability. For an audience that values continuity, any hint of structural uncertainty can feel significant. There is also quiet discussion about how the monarchy positions itself within a changing society. Maintaining tradition while responding to evolving expectations requires a careful balance. Too much resistance risks appearing outdated. Too much reform risks appearing unanchored. What makes this moment especially sensitive is that many of these conversations are happening out of sight. No formal announcements, no sweeping declarations, only subtle shifts in tone, scheduling, and influence that, over time, may signal a redefinition of how the institution governs itself. As internal lines continue to be tested and adjusted, the monarchy moves closer to a point where structural decisions may begin to shape not only how it operates, but how it is ultimately remembered. A quieter, more enduring question now hangs over everything. What kind of legacy will this era leave behind? Not just in headlines or history books, but in the hearts of those who have watched the monarchy for a lifetime. Sources suggest Prince William is thinking far beyond immediate challenges, with a growing focus on how the crown will be perceived decades from now. His reported priority is not personal prominence, but the long-term credibility of the institution, especially for future generations who may feel less connected to inherited authority. There are indications that he sees legacy as something earned through consistency, restraint, and moral steadiness rather than ceremony alone. Observers note a subtle shift in tone, one that favors quiet duty over spectacle and responsibility over performance. The message, whether intentional or not, appears aimed at reassuring those who value tradition, stability, and dignity above all else. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle continue to shape the legacy conversation from another direction. Their independent path has created a parallel narrative about choice, identity, and personal conviction. Reports claim their influence forces an ongoing comparison between traditional royal expectations and modern interpretations of purpose, particularly among international audiences. Within royal circles, there is reportedly growing awareness that legacy cannot be managed through appearances alone. Financial responsibility, reputational integrity, institutional clarity, and emotional connection now intertwine in ways that will define how this chapter is remembered. Every decision, even the quietest one, contributes to a long-term story that cannot easily be revised. Some insiders suggest there is concern about how future historians and the public will judge this period. Was it a time of renewal, hesitation, division, or transformation? The answer may depend on how current leaders respond to pressure, criticism, and shifting public sentiment in the years ahead. There are also unverified claims that certain long-term plans are being discussed in private, focused on safeguarding continuity while allowing careful evolution. These conversations, if accurate, reflect an understanding that legacy is shaped less by reaction and more by foresight. For an older generation that has witnessed multiple eras of the monarchy, the present moment carries emotional weight. Memories of past ability, familiar figures, and shared national moments linger, making any perceived shift feel personal. The institution's future, in this sense, is tied not only to policy or image, but to collective memory. What happens next is unlikely to arrive with ceremony or explanation. It will unfold through subtle decisions, quiet adjustments, and moments that may seem small at first, yet carry lasting meaning. And as the balance continues to move behind closed doors, the true direction of the monarchy remains unresolved, suspended between tradition, transformation, and the legacy still being written.